Hey guys, welcome back to another TryHackMe um, challenge. So this is not a capture the flag challenge, but it is a walkthrough, SQL Injection Lab walkthrough. So this is the SQL Injection Lab walkthrough, and it has some uh, 10 or you can say 9 tasks, part two, starting from part 1. So I've just completed the task 2, and we'll cover rest of the task along with you. So let's begin. So machine is already on. You can see the IP address, and if we open this IP address, we can see the challenges listed here. I'll be using burp suite on the right hand side just to see what kind of requests are going. So we can enable the burp suite, and maybe let's keep intercept off for now. So let's begin for the first one. So you can read all the instruction which is written here. So everything is written, all the hints are there. So we need to use the same things for completing the challenge. So the first challenge is to capture the flag for SQL injection 1 inbox input box non-string. So let's open the first one in the new page. So maybe let's decrease the size and increase this one a little bit. And if I enter a few characters, anything like profile ID, for example, number one, and password, for example, alphabet A. So if we click on login, we can see the account information uh, does not exist, and we can see the URL. So profile ID equal to 1 and password equal to A. And in this challenge they have they are showing us the exact query which is getting executed. So you can notice one thing, that password is getting encrypted, and it is going in string, so in single quote, but the profile ID is going as numeric. So we can try one of the thing which is listed above in this walkthrough is to use SQL injection attack, very basic one, that is one or one equal to one, and then to comment the next part of query, use two dash and then space and one dash, just to make sure that this space is also counted. And password, anything. And if we click on login, and we can see that we can see the flag, and the query which is getting executed is this. So profile ID is equal to 1. So after this OR condition is getting executed, and 1 equal to 1 is returning true. So and the later part is getting commented. So uh, this part is returning false, this part is returning true. So anything is true because of OR will give us a success login attempt. Okay, then now let's log into the next one. And by the way, we can check the request which we have sent here. So the same thing, password equal to A, and profile ID equal to 1, and here we have sent our SQL injection string. Next is input box string. So input box string, challenge second, go to challenge, and here let's try to do the same thing. So for example, profile ID equal to 1, password is A, and the only difference here is the single quote here. So earlier it was accepting profile ID as integer, now it is accepting it as a string. So we need to handle the single quote. So we will use same thing. The only difference which we will do is to use a single quote here. So that the single quote is completed and then the further query executed. We can even remove this thing and then enter password A, and if we log in, uh, it is a success, and we can see the profile ID is kind of blank, and then or condition 1 is equal to 1. That's the only difference in challenge 1 and 2. Then the next challenge in this task is uh, SQL injection 3 URL injection. So let's try the third one. Open, and I want to show you the difference. So profile ID is equal to 1 and password A, and we can see it has similar uh, the similar query is getting executed. So but still it is not allowing us to log in. Mm, Even if we use the same method we used previously. Why? Because it is saying the input field cannot contain special character, and this is coming very instantly and getting generated through uh, JavaScript. URL is stuck to the previous URL where we attempted uh, profile ID 1 and password equal to A. So what we can do, we can use the same thing uh, here. So profile ID equal to this, and if we press enter, it is allowing us to log in. So what has exactly executed is this, the same URL which we executed in the previous challenge. This or this are both the same thing. So it is just uh, URL encoding to different characters. Okay, then the next challenge in this task one is post injection. I believe this is the last one. So post injection is okay. Go back. Post injection URL has ID one, password A, and we can see the same query is there, and the only difference is the URL, the profile ID and these parameters are not getting passed through URL. So it is kind of using a post request. So we can try to intercept this using burp suit. So let's start the intercept on, and if we pass the same thing login, so you can see the URL is not having any parameter, and the actual parameters are going past here as a post request. So we can inject our parameter here. So the same one, single quote or one equal to one, and if we press forward, it is allowing us to log in. So in the history you can check uh, exactly it has posted um, our parameter. I don't see it here for some reason, but you have seen that we have used uh, one equal to one thing. Strange, it is not showing it here. Anyways, so you got the idea. Okay, so let's keep the intercept off, and let's move to the next uh, 4, and then the part 2, SQL injection part 2. Okay, so obviously go through from all the course material, it is quite useful. So and then try to attempt the challenges. Okay, so for task 5 I have made few changes on the screen. So verb suit is not required, and have placed a little notepad below. So the task is to use profile ID 10 and password 2 to log in, and then do the SQL update statement injection. So uh, the pages here. Password, sorry, profile ID is 10 and the password is to login. We are able to log in. So now from here, we need to go to edit profile and we need to check which field is vulnerable here. So to begin with, let's follow this these steps. So if I enter this in nickname and press change, so you can see the nickname is changed to test, but email is not changed to hacked. But if I remove nickname and type it here, so now we can see both things are updated. So both the fields are vulnerable, but it is just that if we input our command in the second box, then even if the first box is empty or anything, it will get overwritten with this value. So two nicknames are there, and then email ID is this, and this email ID is getting overwritten by this email ID field. Okay, next is to check what version is used, or is it a SQL, SQLite, MySQL, or Oracle. So in this case, it is SQLite, because if you enter this query here, the value is getting changed as 3.22.0. So for other two queries, it is not updating any value. So since we know what is the SQL and SQL version and all, we can try using appropriate command. So in this case, we can grab the same thing which is demonstrated here to find out the table names from SQLite master table. So in this master table, all the table names and schema details are stored, and anything which starts with SQLite is not required. So any custom table which was created manually will be shown. So if we um, run the same thing here, so we can run this here because we need to always remove the value of nickname. Okay, so nothing happened. I guess we need to use the second field only because it is getting overwritten. Nothing has happened for some reason, so it is supposed to give us the table name. uh, Let me try it one more time. Change. Okay, so now here it goes. So two tables are there. One is user table and one is secret. So comma is there. So two tables are there. And in their example only username table was there. So next we can try extracting all the column names. So if we copy this and if I paste it here, um, so you can check the table is here, and we are checking all the uh, columns and column names. So if we run it uh, and click change, we see UID is one column, name, profile ID, salary, passport number, email, nickname, and password. All these are column names. So in this example, they have tried to extract the name, password, and profile ID. Three things uh, from the database. So I am pasting it here again, and if we run this, so we have received a couple of profile ID, name, and their password in hash format. So if we correct the formatting, so we can see uh, in the output uh, these many users are there. So, and the last one is admin. So, and the admin credential is this, and it is encrypted in some format, so we can use hash identifier to identify the hash algorithm, and they are using SHA-256, and we can use the same algorithm to encrypt a new password and put the hash here and update the table, basically to change the password. So in this example they have used SHA-256 password 123 and use the hash to update the admin password. So we can try doing that. So if I click on edit this, paste, change, so the password is changed, we can go and try to log in with a capital P password 123. But for this challenge we need to do the same enumeration, and we need to find the flag which is stored in another table. So in our case, two tables were identified. One was user table, another is secret. So we will repeat the same process just by replacing the table name. So edit. I hope we don't need to log into admin and to perform this. So the columns are ID. It is an integer type column and it is a primary key. And then is another is author. This is also an integer, so author I don't think this is name or display name of any author because the type is integer, so it will be 123 or some numeric value. And then the secret text, so three fields, and we can use all three fields, ID, author and secret here. So for ID, let's type the column name here, author, and then the secret, and let's try this query to update. Again, I'm not sure if this will get updated using normal user, or we need to go to admin to update this. Let's try. So we are not able to read the columns, I guess. So let's go to profile 99, which is admin profile ID, and password is password 123 p caps login. Let's try the same thing here. Still we are not able to read that for some reason, so I guess we need to keep the profile ID here. um, so let's add profile ID back and then use ID, author and secret, all the columns. If I go to edit, paste, change, yep, so we are able to read the flag. So author is, I guess, so profile ID is 99, this is ID, and this is author, and this is secret. So let's enter this and move to the next uh, task, which is task 4. Okay, the next is vulnerable startup, broken authentication. The goal of the challenge is to find a way to bypass the authentication to retrieve the flag. Go to challenge 1. So in this list, this is the one, track vulnerable startup, find a way to bypass the authentication. If we go to challenge, this page will come up, and we need to bypass the authentication. So let's try what we have learned here so far. So this is a username, so that's why I'm trying to use the admin instead of using any integer as profile ID. And let's enter password as pass. And if I try to log in, so it is not allowing to log in, and below we can see it is used as username as used as string, and the password is applied as a plain text. So let's turn the burp suit on. So intercept is on, and if we move it here, and if I try using same thing, so admin pass login, we can see the post request and the admin and password is getting transferred as a plain text. So we will use our same tactics we learned previously, single inverted comma or 1 equal to 1, and then comment the previous part of query. So if we forward it again, and we can see the flag. So this was it for this challenge. So now task 5, vulnerable startup broken authentication 2. Okay, next is broken authentication 2. So in the description you can see that we can log in using our SQL injection method, and we are in using admin. And next is it is saying that we can try to decode the cookie, and in the cookie we can see the user ID and the username, and then we can use the union method to um, inject our SQL code, and we can identify the number of columns using these three methods. So one of the method will give some different error, so we can try one uh, incorrect, and if we try second, it says too many requests, and if we try third, it says username password incorrect. So most likely two columns are there. So next is we can try to run union select 1 2. It will put the two here, um, which is the username. So the first column is ID and the second is username. So in the username it will show the number 2, right? So and we can decode the session key, and this will be the value. So I will directly jump to next part and we'll skip some of the thing. So here we are um, extracting the uh, password of the users, I guess. So let's try. Okay, so looks like it has uh, concatenated the password from user, and not this one, sorry. So it has selected the password from the user table, but there are more than one password, so we need to concatenate, and for that we need to use this method which will concatenate, and will show all the password at one place along with our flag. So this is it for this lab. Next task is vulnerable storage broken authentication blind injection. For this one, blind injection, you can go through from the content on your own, and the overall method is to identify each string by comparing the response. So it is quite slow, but it will work. So For example, here you can see the comparison is happening with the character. If the character is T, then some specific action or response will be there, and if the character is not T, then the behavior will be different. So based on that, the blind injection attack would be successful. So we can try login using this. So in the challenge basic authentication 3 blind injection, we will be able to log in uh, using this, but we need to extract the table values, table or column values. So it is not possible in this challenge. It is, I guess, clearly written here. Broken authentication 3 blind injection. It is no longer possible to extract data from session cookie or username display. So in blind injection, we need to compare the text, and based on that, we need to guess the character. So two methods. One is to use the challenge 3 exploit py script, which is here in the download section. So challenge 3 and channel 4. So in challenge 3, this is the script. You can download or copy the code. So what it is doing basically, it is running requests in loop, lowercase ASCII character, uppercase ASCII character, and digit. So uh, one by one it is trying to attempt, and if the response is not invalid, then append whatever is retrieved and then print it. So this is one method, and the second is to use standard method, which is SQL map command, uh, which is quite popular in case of SQL injection, and it will give the output kind of in this format once all the table is fetched. So it will dump out in the table nice and clean format. So I have executed both the things, SQL map and that script, so it is still going on. So on the above you can see SQL map is just completed. So the flag, which is password, and the username, and in this script is running little slower than SQL map, but it is also able to extract the partial flags. So this is it for this task. So let's enter the flag and move to the next one, which is vulnerable startup, vulnerable nodes. So in this task, we need to use the nodes functionality of the portal. So on top left we can see the nodes when we log in, and basically we need to create some user with the username like this query, and when we will go to node section, it will add whatever uh, the username is telling to do. So in this case, um, it will print some table names, and it will show up the details which is hidden in the database. And to find the flag among the username, register username with this name. So go to the create an account and enter the username as this and password of your choice. Register. I've already registered, so it is saying already exist. So if I try to log in and password, we can see the user name as this, and when we will click on notes, it will append this query. So the query says that uh, and select one and then concatenate all the password from the user table. So it will list all the password in the note section to us. So this is it, and the flag is this, which I just entered, and it accepted it. So, and in the SQL map method also, it has elaborated what we need to do. So it is kind of two-step method. One is to identify the exact vulnerability, and once that is identified, then this will dump all the content of the user table. And as suggested that um, this SQL map is quite noisy, so it will try creating many usernames as part of this exercise. SQL map is quite noisy and will add a lot of users attempting to exploit this application. Because of this, the output will be trimmed and the message will. So it will slow down overall execution. And if you know the table name and other thing, you can directly register the username using these methods. So some information um, is good to have and can give lots of edge while doing pen testing. Okay, so that being said, let's move to the next one, task 8, vulnerable startup change password. Okay, so in this challenge, we can see change password. The developer has patched the login and notes function. They also enable the update password function um, and would like to test it. So we can go through this, and it says that we can try creating a user with this value, and when the password change function will get execute, then this will get executed. Update user set password is equal to question mark, and even if we will try to log in, then it will um, use this, it will use the ID instead of username. So this is the username, but when updating the password, it is using the username where user is equal to this. So instead of changing the password of this user, it will update the password of admin only. So let's try that. Create an account, paste password triple A, and if we log in now with the same username and password, we are able to log in because it is using the ID instead of using username to log in. But if we try to change the password, so let's try changing it. Change password, change, log out, and let's try to log in with the previous user only first. So the password was triple A, and I'm able to log in because the password has not changed for this user, but it has changed for the admin user, and the new password was triple Q. And if I try to log in, I am able to log in, and this is the flag. So let's enter that and move forward. And the next task is vulnerable startup book title. In this lab, um, says the new function is added to search the books in the database, and the new search function is vulnerable to the SQL injection because it concatenates the user input directly to the SQL statement. So let's find the hidden flag. So in the um, write up, it says that uh, we can, first of all, let's go inside and check. So for that, create a user account test with some password. I've already done that. So if I log in, it says test new function to search for books. Check it here. Title, test, description, author, and you can see the search already happened with the title test. And if I try something else, it is not doing anything. Test, it is showing this only. And if we use this thing, then it will dump all the um, titles, and you can notice the closing bracket because here the content will be posted, whatever we will return. So we need to close the bracket. So if I press enter, you can notice the query. So the single inverted comma and the bracket is closed, and then the or condition got executed, and we can see the title 1, title 2, title 3. So 3 books are there in the database, and we are able to read that. And the task says that use what you learned in the union-based SQL injection and exploit the vulnerable book search function to retrieve the flag. So in the previous section, we learned to identify first how many um, you can say other columns are there. I mean, how many number of columns we need to add to do the select query. So for that, we did something like this: uh, union select one, two. Maybe you can say these are the column uh, names. Just putting some value. So again, for this, we need to use the single inverted comma and the closing bracket. So if I press enter, nothing is coming up. If I add one more column, 3, nothing is coming up. We need to keep going. 4, enter, and we can see the title and author. So now we know that we need to enter at least 4 values. So we can use the standard, not standard, but the previously used command, which was to union select and group concatenate, fetch all the password from the user. So we need to add one bracket here, and we need to add 3 columns because the fourth one is this. So 1, 2, 3, and then the fourth one. So that should work, and we are able to read other values stored in the password area. So this is done. Then the last one, which is book title 2, vulnerable starter book title 2, and this is under hard category. So let's see. So in this, if you will go through this, it says that the we will limit the result to 0 rows, so which can be done by not giving it any input, or input we know does not exist. So basically you can notice the two outputs. So one is from this query, and the other is from um, sorry, one is from this query and the other is from this query. So let me show you. First, to create a user and log in with that user, and then before doing anything, we can test the previous command which worked in the previous title 1 page. So that is not working here. So um, we can select a string, and also the bracket was the problem. So in this query, the bracket role is not there, and we are not able to fetch anything, right? But if we enter the uh, ID of that book, so the first book is getting fetched. So, and if you notice the output after adding test at the beginning, so basically it is uh, executing a different query. So you can understand that there are 2 queries, one before the union and the second. So in order to fetch the result uh, for any query, we need to add or remove this keyword at the beginning. So if I press enter, you will see the change in output. Now it is um, executing the query with ID number 3 instead of uh, the first book. So what we need to do is, again, we need to use the union as we used in the previous exercise, and we need to basically uh, identify the column. So 1 2 3 4, how many columns are there? So uh, if I use the the query to uh, fetch the password from the users at this place, then we will be able to fetch something. So we are already using union here, right? So it says whatever what you learned about union SQL injection, exploit the vulnerable book search function to retrieve the flag. So we are already using union here and selecting a string in single inverted comma, then adding union and selecting uh, some columns. So there are four number of columns. So at place 4, let's add uh, the password concatenation from the user table. And as soon as you press enter, uh, you should see some output, but I think I'm missing something here. Okay, so I missed the difference here. So basically, we need to handle the single quotes by using uh, this version. So you can notice the single quotes here. So if I press enter, um, you can see the output, but with uh, the other version it is not coming. So we need to add, we just try to add at the place of fourth column group concatenation password from the user, and if we hit enter, we are able to see the passwords and the flag. So that's the last flag, and I hope you have enjoyed this room, basically a walkthrough, and it has a mix of levels: easy, medium, and hard. One or two challenge task like this one, and the last one is actually hard to understand. So if you are not familiar with the SQL queries too much, like me, you will struggle a lot. And I multiple times I forget to use the different link to complete the challenge, and was attempting in the previous challenge handling the URL injection in this URL, so that I made mistake. So it is a nice learning for me, and I hope you have also learned. If so, please like and subscribe, and have a great day. Bye bye.